On today's video, we are going to be working on this $80 Academy Stratocaster copy. We're going to be scalloping the frets and probably do another couple things on it too. So let's get into it. First thing I'm going to do is get these strings off of here. Now I'm going to be wearing my safety glasses for this. I guess the next thing we should do is just take this neck off of here again. We'll have to keep our paper shim for later. One of these days, I really got to get a vise for this bench. And you know what? Let's take this black paint off of here and see what lies underneath. So we'll get rid of these string retainers. Let's get these tuners out of here. Let's see if we can't get this black paint off with a little bit of acetone. This paint is impervious to acetone. Interesting. Huh. I don't know what to make of that. Alright, I don't know why I thought to heat it up with a torch, but you can see it says Academy, right? So it is an Academy 100%. But I've heated this up with my torch, I guess kind of hoping that it would make it more susceptible to the acetone, but I don't know if that's really going to work, so I'm just going to try putting a bit more acetone on it. Nothing. So whatever this paint is, it's impervious to acetone. Okay, so there we go. I got all that black paint off of there. Kind of sad I wasn't able to save the Academy logo. I was hoping it would just wipe off with that acetone and leave the logo, but that might have been a little bit out to lunch. Got a little bit overzealous with the heat right there, but you know, that'll probably sand out, and if it doesn't, well, it'll just be I don't know. Who cares really, right? Anyways, so I guess that's it for removing the paint right now. So now we are going to get on to scalloping the frets. But the first thing I'm going to do is actually take some tape and just mark on the side of my fretboard how I want the deepest part of the scallops to be, just so they're consistent. Okay. I'm actually going to start on this side with the Fretmarkers, because that's kind of going to, I think, be a good indicator. Okay, so I just kind of marked out with some green tape, I think, just how deep I want the scallops to be. So basically, I just tried not to get into the side marker dots, but unfortunately, as I get to the upper frets, I will be getting into them for the last three because, well, they're not really centered on the side of the fretboard, so we're going to see them a little bit on these three frets poking through at the top, but you know, whatever. So one of the major problems I have here is clamping. I don't have enough clamps. I don't have a good way of clamping things. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use just some scrap pieces of plywood here. I'm just going to screw them into my workbench to hold the end of the neck here. All right. And I'm also going to throw a clamp just on the headstock here. All right, that's nice and solid. Okay, so to do this scalloping, what I'm going to be using is just a round rasp. I think I'll start at this this end of the fretboard and just work my way down. This is probably, from what I understand, this is a really long and tedious process. So I'm just gonna speed this up and yeah, take it from there. All right, so that's it. The first fret is done. So there is some metal filings in there because my rasp, you know, it was just getting into the side of the frets a little bit just because it's not quite small enough. But, you know, I don't think that's going to be too big of a deal. Especially once I recrown these frets, it won't be a big deal at all. So I'm just going to continue on doing this. I feel like this is probably going to take me a really friggin' long time because that took me like 20 minutes. So, man, I got 20 more to go, 21 more to go. Okay, so here, all this rasping that I'm doing in this section took me 4 hours to complete. Now, I've read online that if you make a kind of a channel down in between the two frets where the bottom of the scallop will be, with like a triangular file or the edge of a square file, that will somehow speed things up a bit. Personally, I don't see how that would work, but people are claiming it really works well. Other people will use like a power tool to do this, like a kind of a die grinder acorn kind of thing. Personally, I didn't think that would be a good fit for me. So that's why I opted to use the rasp. I felt like I would have a lot more control over it, and in the end, it worked. It just took a really really long time. I've also seen guys use like a CNC machine to do this. Obviously, that would be the most precise, but you probably don't have a CNC machine if you're watching this YouTube channel, and I definitely do not have a CNC machine. So let me know in the comments if you've ever scalloped a fretboard, how you did it, and if you would recommend that method, because this took a long time, and honestly, it kind of sucked. Okay, so that's what the finished product looks like. Well, not the finished product. I'm still going to sand this and get it looking a little bit nicer, but there's a couple things I got to do before I sand it. The first is a number of my fret markers are completely missing now. So what I'm going to do is pull out the remaining 3 and just replace them all with these abolone ones that I got here. There's also a couple areas like this where the fretboard chipped out a little bit, so I'm going to have to fix that as well. And finally, I was worried about my side marker dots. Well, this is what they look like. There was, I guess, 5 of them that showed up. And one of them actually went missing. So I'm probably just going to fill that missing one in with epoxy, and I might just try to pop the rest of these ones out that are showing and fill them in with epoxy. Obviously, ideally, I would not have gotten into my side marker dots, but you know, what can you do, right? I guess the first thing I'm going to do is deal with these fret markers. So what I got here is a 1/4 inch Forstner bit, and I'm just going to kind of deepen these existing holes just a little bit. All right, so there we go. I've got all of my inlay holes deepened. I think I'm just going to get these side markers out of here if I can. Oh yeah, they just pop right out of there. We're ready to proceed. So what I've got here is just some 5-minute epoxy. And in this container, I've got a bunch of the rosewood dust from when I was filing this. So I'm just going to mix up the epoxy with some of this dust so that the epoxy is the color of the rosewood. And I'm going to fill in my side markers that have popped out and that I've popped out. And I'm going to use this mixture to glue in my inlays and also fix the 2 spots on the edge of my fretboard where it chipped out. All right, so I'm just going to wear gloves because I find epoxy disgusting. And I'm going to mix this up on this old guitar string package just because, well, the epoxy won't soak into it. I just got a little scrap of wood here to stir with. So let's get going. All right, hopefully that's mixed up good enough. Okay, I'm just gonna take this inside to dry because it's freezing out here, and yeah, we'll come back and work on it again. All right, so this epoxy has had a chance to dry, but I feel like it didn't really fill these side marker holes too well. So I'm just gonna sand it down and see where I'm at, but I'm probably gonna have to put another little coat of epoxy on here. So I just got some 150 grit here. I'm just gonna wrap it around this rasp I was using. Now, one thing I will say, I know I've said this before, but it's important. I'm gonna say it again. Anytime you're sanding shell, whether it's abalone or mother of pearl or any other kind of shell, you do not want to breathe in the dust. It's like it gets into your lungs and it like causes permanent lung damage. So whatever you do, if you're going to sand any type of pearl shell of any kind, just make sure you don't breathe it in. All right, so I guess I should mention, I've been calling these razor blades. This is actually not technically a razor blade. This is a utility knife blade or a Stanley blade. But what I'm going to do is actually use this to scrape some of this extra epoxy off of here before I start sanding. Just because it's really doing a number on my sandpaper, I think. Or maybe it's the abalone that's doing it, but I'm going to try scraping some of this off of here first to see if that helps. It's not working too good. Yeah, I'll just keep sanding it. So we just gotta address this crazy contraption that I've created, because honestly, it made sanding these down so much easier. I don't know if it would be good for actually making the scallops, but it's definitely amazing for sanding the scallops. And by me saying it's amazing, I'm not saying that you should try doing this. This is probably really dangerous. And if you did try this, I mean, it would definitely be at your own risk, because I'm telling you that it's probably dangerous and you shouldn't try it. Well, what I did here is I took a piece of cold rolled steel, just a 1/4 inch rod. And then what I did is I wrapped a piece of sandpaper around it and put a zip tie at either end. I chucked it into my drill. And then I had this piece of maple with a 1/4 inch hole drilled in the end. And I just put that on the end of the rod. And I was using my drill to turn this sandpaper and basically sand this. You definitely don't want to get caught up in a spinning piece of metal in a drill. And also it gets very, very hot from the friction. But yeah, that's what I did, and it worked out pretty good, actually. As well as that worked in these upper frets, there's still some spots in these lower frets that just didn't work too great in. So I'm just going to keep going over these with just some sandpaper wrapped around my rasp. Okay, so there was a couple spots I just added a little bit more epoxy onto, just because, you know, they were a little bit low, like where I popped out the side markers, and I actually went ahead and preemptively popped out these two side markers too. They weren't showing, but I had a feeling that, knowing my luck, I probably would get into them over the course of sanding this, and I just didn't want to have to do more epoxying later, so I just preemptively popped them out and epoxied them. So what I'm going to do is just sand on this epoxy with some 150 grit, and then I'm going to move on to 220 grit. After 220, I will keep progressing with the sandpaper grits until this is exceptionally smooth. Alright, so now we're on to 220 grit here. Okay, so now that was 220, now I'm gonna go down to, or up to 320. Okay, so now we're gonna break out the 400 grit. Okay, now we're gonna go up to 1000 grit. Okay, now we're gonna go up to 1500. Alright, I think I'm gonna stop there at 1500. I could keep going on this, but you know, my fingers aren't even gonna be touching the fretboard, so I think that's a good place to stop. So I think I'm gonna leave it at that for this week. I think this turned out pretty good. The fretboard is scalloped. The new fret markers look pretty good. And yeah, I think it should be pretty cool once it's done. Next week, I'm gonna have to level and crown these frets. Probably do some work on this headstock. And yeah, that's probably it. Although I may do some more mods before I put it back together. So if you found that interesting, I want to see how this neck turns out, make sure to subscribe. And if you can't wait until next week to see me level and crown some frets, I'll put a video here that you can watch. And if you're still watching, do me a favor, leave me a like or a comment. It really helps out with the channel, and I appreciate it. So until next week, talk to you later.